Have you guys heard of NAFO? So you know NATO is North Atlantic Treaty Organization, okay, military alliance and of the West. And there's a meme online where they kind of took the name and spun it into NAFO instead of NATO. Okay, so North Atlantic Fellows Organization. And what does this mean? Basically, it's an online meme slash Psyop, whatever you want to call it, where they're trying to portray people that support NATO and support Ukraine as being fellas. Like, you know, they're buddies, they're friends, they're cool people, right? Supporting NATO is cool. Let's go destroy Libya, huh? Let's go sodomize Gaddafi and kill him. How about that? Let's destroy Syria. Let's just bomb them, you know, over some like fake chemical attack that we made up. Yeah? Let's fuck up Yugoslavia. Let's go. Come on, Afghanistan. We're fellas. Right? Fellas. So they just post garbage memes. I mean, literally garbage memes. They're not even good, right? They just post memes online trying to turn... you know, I find this funny because they always complain that you had Russia supposedly posting memes during the 2016 election. They posted such good memes that they managed to like trick people into voting for Donald Trump, right? And memes are very bad. And now they're fine with memes as long as they're pro-NATO. Okay, so here's a headline from Washington Post. With NAFO, Ukraine turns the trolls on Russia. Right. Here's the Vice article. Shit-posting Shiba Inu accounts chase a Russian diplomat offline. And so you have a lot of people supporting this. You have, let me show you here. This is Defense of Ukraine. So this is the official Twitter account of the Defense Ministry. And they say that, quote, we usually express gratitude to our international partners for the security assistance, but today we want to give a shout out to a unique entity, North Atlantic Fellows Organization. Thanks for your fierce fight against Kremlin's propaganda and trolls. We salute you, fellas. God, this is so tacky. It's so tacky. It sounds like something from the 1950s. So you have Adam Kinzinger in the U.S. Congress who even changed his profile picture and he put hashtag fella in his name. So, you know, this thing has establishment support. Here's the defense minister of Ukraine. He at one point changed his profile picture and said, oh, I'm part of the fellas, right? The NAFO. So, I mean, obviously, this is a psyop. Do you want to know how I know that this is a psyop? I'll tell you how. Because most people on planet Earth fucking despise NATO with every inch of their body and every fiber. Okay? Most people on planet Earth who you know are rational and have brains and see the news dislike NATO. They fucking hate it. You know why? Because there is no Soviet Union anymore, and everything NATO has done since the Soviet Union is destroy other countries, right? So no one likes NATO, and you're telling me now that all of a sudden, oh, it has like this popular support online? No, this is obviously a psyop, right? It's a psychological operation. It's designed to make you think that there is broad support for something, and then by extension trick you, convince you into liking it, because you're like, hey, you know, it's the tribal mentality that everybody's going there. That thing must be good, right? No, it's not good. It's very dirty. Let me just put it this way. Let's say NAFO, you know, this NATO North Atlantic Fellows Organization. Let's pretend for a second it's not a psyop. And it's a genuine thing that just grew out of nothing on the internet. Guess what? It still sucks. No one likes NATO. End of story. And I want to show you something more interesting, okay? Because the Vice article, which I just showed you here, they talk about the creator of this, okay? So who came up with NAFO? So they say it all started back in May when an artist named Kama started designing the little guys because he thought the Shiba Inu looked goofy, okay? So this is his name, all right? And it turns out that this guy who came up with NAFO is an anti-Semite, right? So he was posting on Twitter anti-Jewish things. He was making fun of the Holocaust. And number one, that's obviously very disgusting and very egregious. And number two, it makes me question why people are throwing their support behind this. Like, what does that mean now? Like, you're fellas with someone who makes fun of the Holocaust? What the fuck is that? What is that? Why are you fellas with something created by someone who makes Nazi jokes? How is that funny? Why would you want to be fellas with someone like that? And then the third issue is that, you know, we keep hearing there are no Nazis in Ukraine. And again, no one is saying most Ukrainians are Nazis. Obviously, they're not. That's ridiculous. what people are saying is that you have small pockets of very intense and potent Nazi supporters, and they wear Nazi insignia. And it's not me saying that. It's The Guardian, the BBC, NBC. You can pick any mainstream outlet you like. You know, from 2014 up until 2022, they were all talking about how you have Nazis in Ukraine, right? Who are disciples of Bandera, this guy participated in the Holocaust. He killed Poles, he killed Jews, and was an anti-Semite. And so this person who's created NAFO, so it was called Kama. Look, he's making fun. These are old tweets that people pulled up from what he wrote, and he's making fun of Jews, and I think that's disgusting. I think that's extremely disgusting, and it really makes me wonder when people are saying that, you know, there's absolutely no Nazis in NATO or in NATO, you know, who are basically in cahoots with NATO, and there are no Nazis in Ukraine. And granted, this guy's not Ukrainian, he's Polish, according to the Vice article. But look what he said. This was his response a few days ago, October 15th. He said that these very helpful individuals have combed through my timeline and found some overly edgy and incredible, inappropriate, quote-unquote, jokes that I made a couple of years back to fit in just so I can mess with people further. None of these are acceptable, and I'm just, what is this? Like, that's not even an apology. This is not even an apology. You made fun of the Holocaust to fit in? Who the fuck are you trying to fit in with? Heinrich Himmler? Like, what is this garbage? What kind of an apology is this? It's not even an apology. And again, like, I'm looking at this photo that was posted here by the commander-in-chief of the armed forces of Ukraine. This is the official Twitter account with the blue check mark and everything. And this guy's wearing a fucking bracelet with a swastika on it, right? You can't see it down here, but I'll blow it up for you like people did in the comments. There you go. So this guy's wearing a swastika on his bracelet. And then the funny thing is you have people who say, no. That's not a swastika. You're just not seeing properly. And then you tell them, well, what about the other symbols on there? Those are also associated with the Nazis. You know, they always have, like, they always move the goalposts, but a lot of these symbols, and they say, you know, they'll of course say, well, no, it's not Nazi. These things are Norse. They come from Norse mythology. They're Viking. Yeah, fine, but you know, you live in 2022. We're in the 21st century. The Nazis took that shit and they co-opted it. So it has a different meaning. We're not in the Middle Ages anymore. And of course, you know, they won't have that. There's always some kind of excuse. And remember, there are many instances where the NATO, not NAFO, NATO, the military alliance, on their official Twitter account, they posted pictures of people in Ukraine with fucking Nazi insignia and emblems on their shirts, on their patches. And they had to delete them. This happened multiple times. You know what? On Victory Europe Day, so that's May 8th of this year, Zelensky, the Ukrainian president, on his official Telegram channel, and I showed this to you with the receipts, they posted a picture of a guy with a fucking death's head, a Totenkopf. That's the skull and bones that the SS, the Schutzstaffel, had in World War II. The Nazi SS. And then they deleted it quickly because people are pointing out why, like, there are too many coincidences for this to be just a coincidence. You understand? So I find that's very disgusting that people just, they sport Nazi symbols and act like it's not a big deal. No, it's a very big deal. It's a very big deal. And I want to read you a tweet here from Kim.com. He said that considering all of this evidence, the swastika bracelet debate about General Zaluzhny, so here, the guy in this photo, which I showed you, the commander-in-chief of the armed forces. Considering all the evidence, the swastika bracelet is a sideshow. The Nazi problem in Ukraine is significant and well documented. No CIA botnet, no US government propaganda, and no fake news media can change that. Thank you, Internet. He basically had done a whole thread where people posted evidence of Nazis in Ukraine and so on. And again, I want to be very clear. That doesn't mean you should go around and start calling anyone who's Ukrainian a Nazi. That's disgusting. The problem here is that you have NATO, you have the West siding allying themselves with Nazis and then pretending that it's not happening. And we saw this with the Contras in Central America and Nicaragua. The CIA and the West were basically, especially the United States, were backing the Contras in secret. And then we saw this with Al-Qaeda and ISIS. Al-Qaeda and ISIS only exist because of the CIA and the West. And so they get in bed with these vicious terrorists, Nazis, Al-Qaeda, whoever it is, because it suits their military and foreign policy objectives. And then if you call this out, because you shouldn't be, allying yourselves with Nazis and Al-Qaeda, then they say you're talking propaganda. And then in a few years, the truth will come out. And then, of course, they'll act like, oh, well, it's not a big deal. That was just 40 years ago. It is a big deal. It's a very big deal. And I'll just kindly remind you, there were a couple of resolutions in the United Nations General Assembly against Nazism, and the only two countries that voted against them were Ukraine and the US. This in 2018. Why would you vote against that? Why do you oppose a resolution condemning Nazis? Apparently the US and Ukraine do, or did, right? So I'm very concerned by all of this, and I think it's so hilarious that they're trying to portray NATO as some peaceful organization where you have fellas. Nah, man, fuck you. Fuck you. I know what NATO is. I've lived in Pakistan. I've lived in Syria. I've been around the world. My parents been around the world. And a lot of the destruction is because of NATO. And a lot of the evil, the last 3 decades of war, is because of NATO. It's NATO, they're the one at the helm of it. And trying to pass this off like it's some defensive organization, that's disgusting. There is nothing defensive about NATO. You could maybe argue that during the Cold War. Fine. We're not in the Cold War anymore, at least not the one until 1991. The last 3 decades, there was no Soviet Union. Why does NATO still exist? To defend against an imaginary foe? No, it exists because they wanted to do whatever they want in Kosovo, do whatever they want in Afghanistan, in Serbia, in Syria, Iraq. This is what it's about. It's about projecting Western power and Western influence. And these people are fucking murderers and war criminals, and they are responsible for most of the destruction around the planet. They are not fellas.